Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to AP US History through Canvas. Today, we're going to be talking about how to use Canvas to study AP US History through this online course. And in addition to giving some basic technical instructions for the class, we'll also talk a little bit about the class expectations. Class rules, procedures for turning in work, how grading is going to work, and things like that, at least as best we can. As with anything done through technology, there's always a possibility of technical difficulties, but we'll work through those as they come up. If you ever have any problems or questions, please feel free to email me. Now, when you log into Canvas, it should look something a lot like this. And this should be the first thing you see when you log into my AP US History class. The title of the class, some useful buttons up at the top to get to our most important things, our announcements, our schedule, and our discussions. But we do have our welcome message with a short greeting video that you've already seen, hopefully, and a brief introduction to AP US History. We'll be talking about the history of the United States and the area that became the United States, from its earliest settlement during the last Ice Age up to January 20th, 2017. The goal, of course, is to prepare for the AP US History exam in May, and generally just to become better people, better citizens, to become more knowledgeable about the country in which we live. An exciting and inspiring and occasionally awful place. But this should be the first thing you see, although one of the most important things to do is to check the announcements every day. Again, that's why there's a helpful link for the announcements right up there with the town crier. Most days will begin with a lecture. And for those, you'll have a couple options. You can watch a recorded video of the lecture, or you can read the lecture notes, and we'll look more at that here in a few minutes. You can, to some extent, do this on your own. You can do this the first part of class. The first part of class most days is set aside to give you plenty of time to read or watch the lecture. But you could watch them the night before, or possibly even earlier, although you probably shouldn't work too far ahead. However, there will be a live meeting scheduled every day. Normally, that will be halfway through your class period. Although there will be some days in which you should plan to meet the entire period, but those days will be announced in advance. Typically, those will be review days, test days, and occasionally other days where there will be some activity taking the entire period. But those should only come along every couple of weeks. Most days, read or watch the lecture, and then tune in halfway through class. And then, after a little discussion, there will sometimes be a quiz or other activity at the very end of class. Although, in the case of quizzes, those will usually be open for 24 hours. And you can learn more about the class by visiting the class syllabus or by emailing me. So I've already mentioned, you need to check the announcements every day. I'll try to update the announcements each afternoon, sometime between 3 and 5 p.m. to let you know what's coming up the next day. It will give you the link for the Zoom meeting or Google Hangout Meet or whatever we may end up doing to meet that day, as well as a link to that day's lecture. For example, you click on the announcements, it brings you here. Here, for example, were the directions for day 1 that hopefully you already clicked on. And there will be a class discussion on Canvas each week, which will be graded. And to get to that, you can click on this link here, or the links on the side of the page, or again this button up here at the top. Typically, there will be one discussion each week. The first discussion will be about the exploration of America. And often there will be a document to read and some questions to answer. You will need to answer all 3 of those questions and will need to comment on the responses given by at least 2 other students. And these need to be significant responses. I'm not just saying I agree or I disagree or hi, just checking in. The very first week that we're together, I'd also like you to introduce yourself, and so there's an introduction discussion. Please visit that and leave by next Monday a short description of yourself so the class can get to know you. That is also for a grade, but as long as it's about you and addresses at least most of these topics, that should be an easy 100. And easy hundreds are something that you should grab whenever you get the opportunity. The third important thing will be to check the class schedule. It has links to each day's lectures and quizzes and other things. For example, there's a link to our greeting video. There will soon be a link to this video as well, so you can check these directions anytime you want to. At the beginning of each unit, there will be an introduction that I recommend you read, and then a highlighted lecture for each day. And you can read these lectures in advance if you wish, but it's probably best not to get too far ahead of yourself. For example, the quizzes that will come along periodically only cover material since the previous quiz. Our first quiz, for example, will be based on information in our first 2 lectures on pre-Columbian America and the Age of Exploration. And the quiz will only come open in the morning on August 12th, and it will stay open 24 hours till the morning of August 13th. Again, if you're too far ahead, you may not remember everything. You click on the lecture, it'll give you a couple of options. You can watch a recorded video lecture with a PowerPoint slideshow and me talking in the lower corner, just as I am now. Or you may read the lecture notes. I don't follow these word for word, but it's pretty close. So if you don't want to listen to me or you're pressed for time, this may be a little bit quicker. It may also be easier to refer to when you study. And occasionally, these notes will have extra illustrations or some additional videos to follow to learn even more about some of the topics, as you can see here. This will also give you links to the quizzes and links to the discussions. Links to the day's lectures will also appear in the daily announcements, so there'll be several ways to find those. And again, the 3 most important things we have: the announcements, the schedule, and our discussions. You can get to those handy buttons up there or through these links here on the left. The lectures, quizzes, tests, and most other things are also organized in modules that you can find through a link on the left or that link right there that I just clicked on. Not very successfully, it seems. And this is simply another way to find the lectures and quizzes and other things coming up. I also have a number of things in the Files section you can get to from this link here or the link to the left over here. The Files is divided into 7 units, as well as a few extra files too. Our class schedule and some rules are here as the syllabus. There's a list of the presidents of the United States. There are a couple of maps that you may later need to print off and complete for a homework assignment. But then, within each unit, you can find all my lecture notes as Word documents and the PowerPoint slideshows that go with each lecture, if you'd like to look at those on your own. Some people even choose to print the lecture notes off to study from, even to follow along with during my lectures. And near the bottom, there should be a study guide for each unit, although that will also be posted somewhere in the notes for each unit too. And now we should look quickly over the class rules and expectations, as you can see here. And if you want a link to the class schedule, that can be found here once again. Just a quick introduction to myself, my long and impressive resume. I also sponsor the Medieval Battle Association, a club where we hit each other with foam swords. That is the picture I use for everything because it looks better than I look today. If you would like to contact me, the most convenient way is to email. You can email me with my school email address here. That's probably the best way to reach me during the day, although I do check it in the evenings and weekends as well. You can also email with my personal email address, which is found here. I check that pretty regularly when I'm not at school and often during the school day too. I also have my own web page, which you can visit, perhaps if Canvas is not working right, as occasionally happens. It also has the class schedule and lecture notes. If you would like to check those, it's a little bit less technically exciting in Canvas, but functions just as well. And there are also links to the lectures on YouTube. You can also find them on YouTube simply by searching for Dr. Sayers Teaches AP US History. As you can see here. Here is the introduction of the course as described by the College Board, the folks who publish the AP exam, and here is a link to their website. When you're not on campus, we'll be doing this through Canvas, although even when we are on campus, we will often do quizzes and possibly other things through Canvas as well. So if you are on campus for class, please bring your Chromebook with you. We will be reading the textbook, The American Pageant, the 16th edition. And I would recommend you read the entire textbook. Some chapters will be assigned for reading, and we'll have reading quizzes to accompany them. You're probably particularly interested in our grading system because I'm sure you expect to get a grade for the course. And the most common form of assessment will be the quizzes over class lectures. As I've already mentioned, all the lectures have their full notes available online. We will occasionally have quizzes over chapters assigned to be read in the textbook. We'll also hold discussions both through Zoom or something similar, and the online discussions. The online discussions on the Canvas discussion board will be graded, and each will be equivalent to a quiz grade or a homework grade. We'll have a unit test. Every 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a total of 6 unit tests over the course of the semester. Each test counts as 5 quiz grades. And there will be a few other homework assignments. There may occasionally be other work in class. There may be a few quizzes beyond those based on the lectures or the textbook. And quizzes will typically be announced well in advance. You can plan for them. You can look for them on the class schedule. Quizzes may be multiple choice, may be matching, may be short answer. There may even be some quizzes that will be fill in the blank or something else. And most quizzes you should expect to take on Canvas, whether you're learning remotely or in person. And once you start a quiz, you'll typically have 15 minutes to complete it. Although for the first few quizzes, I'll allow 20 minutes so that people can become accustomed to the technical process of working with Canvas. I've already mentioned you'll be graded on your participation discussion board, which is typically due each Friday, although do check the due date each week just in case. We will do some document-based questions, which are a type of essay that appear on the AP US History exam, in which you not only answer a question with an essay, but have to provide evidence from documents that are provided as part of the question. And most of the DBQs that we do will be for a test grade and will be timed. I've already mentioned a test grade is worth 5 times as much as a homework, classwork, quiz, or discussion grade, so that's very important. All tests will have multiple choice questions. Most will include short answer questions or essay questions, or both. Please set aside the full 90 minutes for each test, and once you start a test on Canvas, it is timed. Although, most of the tests are broken into multiple sections, so if you need to take a break between them, you can. Perhaps you want to do your multiple choice and take a break and then do your writing. Our first test is divided that way, giving you 45 minutes for your multiple choice and 45 minutes for your essay. Work must be completed on time. Now, if there are technical difficulties with the online system, please let me know. If there is a personal issue, and if you have a serious illness, some other serious issue that prevents you from submitting work on time, let me know as soon as possible, and we'll discuss how to work that out. If there's a good reason, as there usually turns out to be, I can often give you an alternate assignment or simply reopen an assignment that closed on Canvas. Although some work, if submitted late, will get a late penalty, typically 5 points off for each day that is late. Here is the standard grading scale that we're required to use, but it's really different than that because after all, since it's an AP class, 5 points are added to your final grade. So if you get an 88, that turns into a 93 and is really an A. You get a 65, that'll turn into a 70, and that is at least passing. At least if you take the AP exam. The school policy is if you do not take the AP exam, you do not get those additional 5 points. You need to keep track of your work in some way. A notebook is awfully handy if you're printing out notes or taking notes by hand, which is certainly a good idea. How you choose to do that is up to you. You certainly will need to use your Chromebook. At least some days, obviously if you're learning at home, you'll probably use it every day. If you're on campus, please bring it with you, as that is how most quizzes will be completed. And we do collect a $5 fee for the Social Studies Department. When you're on campus, you must of course follow all health and safety guidelines and all school rules in general. When meeting on campus, there's some rules for the classroom. Please be in your assigned seat when the bell rings. Please have all your class materials ready and your cell phone, everything else put up. If you want to say something, you may, but wait till you have permission to speak. I love to answer questions. I love to let you answer questions, but simply raise your hand or otherwise wait for permission. Be respectful of other people. Don't interrupt someone else who is talking. Don't interrupt me when I'm talking. And don't bother people in other ways. I once had a student who liked to stab people near him with pencils. We solved that by giving him a desk far from anyone else. That shouldn't be an issue if you're learning on Canvas, but it is one of the rules for those who are on campus at any point. Turn your work in on time, keep the room tidy, and that's a good rule whether you're in my classroom or your own room. And when in my classroom, only leave the room with a hall pass. And finally, quid pro quo is a Latin term. It loosely translates as something for something, which is to say that you should treat other people as you wish to be treated. If you work hard, you will get a lot out of the class. If you don't work hard, you won't get much out of the class. And if you try to make my life hard, I can make your life hard. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fun together. AP US History is a very interesting topic. People usually have a pretty good time in the class. But what you get out of the class in terms of knowledge, enjoyment, and the overall experience really comes down to what you put into it. We insist on strict standards of academic honesty in all courses, so if you cheat, you can get a 0 on an assignment, in theory, even a failing grade for an entire class. It is particularly important when doing work at a distance. As you'll be working on the internet, it is not necessarily that difficult to find things to copy and paste into your essays or other assignments. However, if you're caught doing that, that counts as plagiarism and can get you a 0 for that assignment. And the kind of assignments where you're most likely to do that would be the essay on a test, or perhaps a DBQ, which is also for a test grade. Getting a 0 for a test grade because you've been caught plagiarizing would be very bad for your overall average. Here are Tennessee's official standards, our honors level expectations, and should you ever need any help, I will do all that I can to help you. There are probably people more capable of assisting you with technical issues, but I'll do what I can for those, and certainly all I can do to help you through this class and any questions you might have about history. And some days, like this one, we'll have a video meeting turned on the entire period. Most days, we'll have a video meeting set up the second half of each class period. Again, the first half of the period being set aside to give you time to view the recorded lecture video or read the lecture notes. The second half of the class, we'll meet and we can talk about it. I'll take any questions that you have. And some days, you can use some of that time for a quiz as well. And you can read or watch the lectures in advance. You can take the quiz at any point within a 24-hour window. But you definitely need to log into the online meeting if you have any questions, and I'll do all I can to help you there. Likewise, I can be reached by email almost any time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or again talk to me during one of our live class meetings. I thank you very much. I look forward to spending the semester together.